Everyone, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about how, like, sometimes, like, niching down in particular things can really help make your business unique. Now, what do I mean by that? And I always say what I mean by that, because a lot of times what I say, you have to kind of unpack it. I like Medicare supplement plans because Medicare supplement plans are very easy to understand, and they are very, very applicable to many different people. So the market is wide, and the complexity of the product is low. It's a very great combination. But for Medicare Advantage plans, it's not so simple. I just checked Texas, the Medicare Advantage plans available from this one company, and it's almost 100 different plans for 100 different types of enrollees. How do you find which enrollees are going to be the best suited for these plans? I mean, you could, but it'd be very difficult to learn every single plan every single time, right? What I mean, like, it's every year these plans change, number one, and every year there'll be new people with new needs, and your existing clients have changing needs. In addition to the sales aspect of it, you want to make sure the product or the company that you are partnering with will actually make good on their promises, right? I mean, with Medicare insurance plans, it's not that difficult. I like to say just partner or offer at least the top 3 to 5 carriers in your area, and then every year kind of figure out which plans have the best benefits within those 3 to 5 carriers, and then break down to which ones you prefer. Like for me, I like PPO plans, much easier to use. Very difficult to use HMO plans, especially in rural areas or areas where potentially your patient or your member is looking for new specialists, right? Because it's very, very difficult to kind of be constrained. Like clients they feel like choice is valuable, but they might not exercise that choice. But the ability to have that choice sometimes makes all the difference in the world to people. Give you an example, and then we can go back to the topic of how many plans you should be actually offering. If you are to choose a specialist, let's say a cardiologist to make it really narrow, and you can see anyone, where do you even begin? Do you start looking at Yelp? Do you ask your friends? Or is it better to have an HMO or a closed system? Maybe your plan isn't an HMO, but the actual the hospital system you're working with accepts your PPO plan, and then have your PCP or your whatever doctor refer you within their network, not the plan's network, but the hospital system network, because it's just way easier to get an appointment, and it's way easier to have notes transferred correctly. And it's way easier for those two doctors to converse, because if not, I mean, if you see a cardiologist who's out of the network, out of the hospital network, then to get the information that the cardiologist needs and to get the cardiologist's notes that your primary care doctor or your referring physician needs is difficult, right? So those are some things that we're working in the medical field, you kind of just know about, right? It makes sense, but it's not one of those thoughts that you think, oh yeah, of course. That's like first thing that comes to mind when I think about a specialist, right? Getting the referral. It's usually about the insurance and whether or not you can get it. Well, what's more important? Having the insurance pay for it, or having the doctors actually talk to each other? Right? I guess I'm just saying that to me, having the doctors converse is way more important than having the insurance plan pay for it. But yet a lot of people will prefer that the insurance plan pay for it, which is a perceived amount, and you don't have to go and educate your client on all of these processes, but just know from an operations standpoint that if clients are asking about certain things, then they might have to consider XYZ, right? So back to offering. Okay, so the way I like to put like kind of like a grid on everything is we have all these plans up here. I'm not going to make too big arm movements because I'm driving. We have all these big plans, right? And each company has all their plans. The way I like to think about things is I like to strip down things that are very, very niche unless I am in that niche. So if a plan is an HMO that's a lean network that only covers one hospital system, unless I'm sitting at that hospital system, or I have a client who goes to that hospital system and nowhere else, then I will tell them about that plan. If not, that plan is completely gone from the actual recommendations that I will do, and I will make note which plans those are. So that kind of filters out maybe 5% of the plans. Now I talked a little bit about HMO and PPO, and while you may think that I favor HMOs, I do not. Okay, I rather have PPO plans just because having the plan deny something outright makes me as the agent look bad. So I don't like that. So I use PPOs because PPOs have far better leniency towards getting something covered. Now I have an HMO personally. I had something denied, but then later it was resolved. And I knew it would be, and I knew if it wasn't, I know how to fight that. But I don't want to coach every single client who goes through what I went through. I don't want to coach them on it. It doesn't make sense. I would rather just do the PPO and then have them out. And if they want to, like I say many times, if you're a member of my agency, then you get access to all of my plan reviews and strategies around the plan reviews. But if you're not, then it's kind of like this. If you have an HMO, then and you like the benefits, you like the value, then I will tell you, I as the agent will tell you, that the plan is a lot more restricted. You have to make sure that referrals get approved by the insurance company for the appointment that you're going to. So it does require a little more legwork. The benefits are there, but you are paying for it, not by money, dollar amount. You are paying for it because the HMO has more restrictions than the PPO. It's not a huge more amount of restrictions, but it can be if you are in the realm of someone who needs to go outside a network or need to get something like a referral approved. Okay, now back to figuring out what plans to offer. So I usually filter out the HMO plans, and then if someone wants an HMO plan, then I will move I'll move the meter back to filtering for HMO plans, but primarily I look at PPO plans. And then from the PPO plans, I look for the ones that are either have an interesting copay, co-insurance spread. So like if one plan has like $1,000 hospitalization flat fee and like a lot of flat fees, then I'll say, okay, it's flat fee plan, and I can look at it objectively from like, okay, premiums are up here, copays are down here, and then I'll try to find like a blend between the two, and then I'll make kind of like a call on, okay, this plan is more because it includes dental in it at no additional cost. So this is for somebody who likes the dental benefit of this plan and the other benefits surrounding it. But could I build this plan without the dental? Is there a plan like this without the dental that maybe has a dental rider that I could put on to make it look like this plan? Therefore, I don't need to have both plans, I can just have one. Next, the level of plan. So the level of premium. So in some counties, like you just know that a $100 premium is not feasible for most of the residents of this area. Most of the residents of this area will sign up for the zero plans. And then I will look at all the zero plans and find out which plan, where the differences are, where the major differences are. I don't care that one has like a $5 copay and a $2.50 copay, or a $5 and a $10, right? Copay difference. Maybe that'll make somewhat of a difference for some people, but if there is not a like gaping, like, oh my God, this plan has this, so you're just paying that extra $5 is going to save you $100 here. Unless there's those huge discrepancies, which there usually isn't, then I'm not going to really care too much. Alright, so that's kind of how I look at things objectively. There is very few levers that change when looking at a Medicare Advantage plan. And those small copays that make really no difference to the generalized population, I won't even talk about, because generalized populations will generally have the same kind of opinion, so I can just knock those off. It's the outliers that I'm looking for, because if the general population looks at this plan and finds it the most valuable, then that is the most valuable plan that there is. There's outliers though who don't fit in that generalized plan, and those are the people who I need to filter in for, because those folks will have different needs. Like, let's say if someone has a surgery coming up, I need to look at the surgery copays and make sure that the surgery copays are lower, or if they aren't lower, how much more do I have to buy a plan for to lower those copays a meaningful amount. And then, so I mean, I have like a 4 or 5 different main metrics that I look at, like hospitalization, outpatient surgery, usually observation stay, and diagnostic procedures, labs. So it's kind of like, that's like the sparklies of the plan. And then from there you can kind of say, okay, all these things, you can, it's weird that some plans exist that are like niche, super niche plans, and I guess it makes sense if you have all this extra money and there's like 100,000 people that fit that niche, especially out in Texas. So you can filter it out that way. That's how I am going to start doing it, because again, I live in Texas. I'm not blessed with only having 8 plans to look at for the entire state like Hawaii does. So it's going to be a little bit more legwork on my part, but I think that's for the best. I think this will help me grow as an agent. It'll also help my future clients as far as figuring out where and how to choose plans. It's going to help with my book writing, as it already has, and it'll help figure out really what matters. And remember I said in the very beginning, you pick those 3 to 5 top carriers. From there, you can either look at it expansive from the top down or bottom up, right? So top down would be look at the plan, and then from the plan point of view, look at all the networks that they carry. Or if you are, again, in a geographic location that has strong hospital systems, look from the hospital system and doctor perspective, and look up and say which plans are cover my hospital or my area well. And that is typically going to be information that is kind of hard to get from marketers. I mean, each regional director is going to say that their plan is like the best, right? Like our plan is a strong network. What does that mean? Relatively speaking, do you cover all the doctors that my client needs? Well, that's something you have to figure out, which is also a way to look at how to find a plan. If you find a plan that has all the doctors in the network, all the medications covered by the plan, then you can filter out that way and say, okay, client is most important. We filter out everything else that doesn't work financially, and then we look at what works financially. So there's lots of ways you can attack this. But the way I like to do things is I like to know what plans offer. And that's why I go through a top down. I look at the plans and then I look downwards to find out why certain plans are much more, I guess, inexpensive, why plans are more expensive, and then figure out from there, which plans I think are most valuable. And then with that base level of knowledge, I can look to see what clients, based on their doctors and their medications, would quote unquote qualify for as far as financially and quantitatively, measurably make sense, and then find plans for them. And that's how I do it. I know a lot of people are going to be doing things differently, but for me, that's how that is the most logical way I can think about doing this. And I think that's where we have to come in, and we have to be that guiding light. And that's what makes us valuable. And I think we are really valuable. And many people, agents, don't think that we are that valuable. And while some agents are definitely not valuable, I think that there are far more of us that are willing to work hard, find the benefits for our clients, figure out the best way for conflict or problem resolution, and really be the foundation platform and like, I guess, ground point for our client. All right, everyone, do good things. Mahalo to our healthcare hero, and I'll see you in the next video.